All right, good morning, everybody. How you guys doing today? Let me know if you can hear me. We are live. All right, hi, Armando. All right, the markets are about to open any moment. Quick review. Got a short on the pound Aussie here at 88. We'll call it 88.92. Just around that spike there on the left a little bit. So that short is in play. Stop will be at 89.16, and the targets are 76, 88.66, 88.57, and 47. So that's going, or hasn't triggered in yet, but that's a valid setup. And the markets are open. Quick short on the YM, heads up, 35.306, triggering in rather quickly. Let's see if it pulls back up. There, gave us the entry right there. And money management's at 86. It got to 87. Missed it by one tick. It's targeting 283. Stops at 336. There it is. Move your stop to break even. And done. So getting ready to maybe hit target 2 here at 271. Definitely got to be on your toes at the open. But that's how you get in, get out, get done, and finish quickly. 23 points to target 1. Just hit target 2 for 35 points. Gotta love it. Good morning, Miles, Gavin, Pamela, Crazy Ivan. Nice to see you guys. So if you're in that YM trade, that's a good plan. This plan's been working for a good long time. And hitting target 3 now on the YM. Crude oil this morning starting at 9. There's that get in sync with the dark blue trade there, which then flipped a short. And that short trade went through 3 targets, then stopped out, and then a second trade, which made it to its target 1. So crude oil finishing, actually that blue trade would have stopped out up in here at the trailer. Remember, we adjust around stop and reversal, so you stay short on the blue trade, and it would have hit target 2 and then stopped out at its trailer right up in this area. Yeah, 63. So crude oil good and finished. The YM just now hitting target 4, and the trailer moving lower, 282. Very quick and to the point and efficient. On the catapult front, well, let's look at unleaded gas on Spotlight first. Again, another case where the dark blue trade, I mean, that's a good trending setup. You always got to be careful when there's been a trend for quite some time, because that's the trade setup that's good early on, as you can see. But late in the trend, well, trends ultimately are going to end, right? So that's when that setup isn't going to work. This one breaking out over the swing high barely and not following through, which could lead to what? A strong move in the opposite direction. So the pink trade getting short is the trade that works in this case, as you can see. Anyone needing another trade is going to lose on the blue trade and then win on the next blue trade, and now currently in the yellow trade. So that yellow trade is short from 0854 with the stop at 0921. You can see it targeting down here in front of that 200 moving average, or maybe it'll come down and test that level. You can see on the range bar here the gap open. This is all just, well, that's not true. It looks like a gap, but actually it's not. You could tell by the timestamp on the bars that this is actually, these are trades happening. It's just that the catapult setup came and stopped out at money management, because this is a scalp and run, and it aggressively moves to break even really fast. Unfortunately, too fast, but that's before the start time. Anyway, the start time is at 8:45, which happens right here, and that one hits its scalp targets and then stops out. And you can see what's happened since. Another scalp, break even, and then another scalp, then a break even, then a break even. That's the whole point of the break even, the aggressive break even, because there's enough of these where you hit the nice trade at some point. So you're throwing the hook in the water, but pulling it out really fast. And of course, if you have any questions, let me know, but we'll take a look at heating oil. Where is it? Let's look at the contract itself. So heating oil, and this one starting at 9:30, and that one and done, hitting its scalp target as well. Very efficient trading this morning, for the most part. YM finally hitting its stop here after getting through all four of its targets and stopping out at its trailer here at 266. So all in all, from start to finish, 5-minute trade. Catapult, soybeans. Remember, always go for the newest setup. So right at the 8:30 start, even though that's at 7:44, but then the next bar is 8:30, and it goes rather quickly, but gives you enough time to grab it in a few places, but then comes up, doesn't, well, yeah, it doesn't quite hit its target. It just misses by one tick. So that one actually stopped out. Looks like it pretty good because, well, there was a newer trade, but assuming you already filled on that one, yeah, it missed by one tick. Bad luck there. Still waiting for another setup on soybeans. And of course, today is the crude oil inventory report coming up in about 42 minutes. Good morning, John. So unleaded gas, pretty active this morning on Catapult. It's been up and down. We saw on Spotlight, you could see all these setups here that are either hitting break even or hitting scalp targets. One of these is going to take off and produce a runner. It's what usually happens at some point. Of course, this one just pushing up through its target 4. And I guess the same could be said for heating oil. I want to see if the trade station finally rolled over. On Monday, it was still, the continuous chart was still on the old contract with no volume. I don't know if you guys remember that. So it looks like it still is. See, this is still on the September contract. The rollover chart, the continuous chart, that's a problem. Just be careful you're trading the right chart or using the right chart for your trade setups. Let's see what's going on with unleaded gas. So unleaded gas, yeah, so this is also the September contract. So we should be looking at the October contract. Let's change it. It's going to end up looking totally different. Good morning, Al. Yeah, some about these continuous charts, they just don't roll them over at the right time. I have too much data coming in here. Let me fix that. There we go. All right, so this now looks like it should look, at least with the right contract. And now, look, remember we saw those bars filled that were gray going up on the September contract? Now you see on the correct contract. Yes, you can start trading these earlier if you wish. But the first trade of the day, there it is. And this time the runner actually produced a lot better, didn't it? So hitting its scalp targets and then a little bit more on the runner. Not much more, but a little more. Then this one wiggles in and out really fast. And then you can see a nice short third trade, fourth trade, hitting a scalp target there at target 3, a break-even trade, a nice long trade. Just one good setup after another, basically. One loser in there in the middle. Really important to look at the right chart, especially close to expiration, and the continuous charts just showing one of the inherent problems that they have, which is why we can never get away from our manual back testing. As much as we love the automation, it does have its limitations. Speaking of which, I did have to reschedule the Catapult Advanced Boot Camp all about the automation, and that's going to now be Friday, the 3rd of September. I know it's not the most ideal time to do this, but it's the only time. It was just not possible to do the boot camp tomorrow. Too much going on. It just didn't work out. So I rescheduled it for next week, Friday the 3rd, plenty of time to join that. I'll be sending emails out. Some have gone out, but some of you are already you already have it, or you're VIP members, so you'll get in on that. And then the following week, on Friday, the 10th of September, will be our Catapult Grains boot camp. So 2 Fridays in a row, boot camps. It is the Friday kicking off Labor Day weekend. Yes, it is. Which, like I said, is not ideal. Maybe it is for some of you. Good way to kick off the Labor Day weekend. Some of you might be leaving to travel, in which case I do apologize. I'm aware of that. It just can't be helped. I've got travel plans coming up myself, and I'm working around just a real active schedule. Kind of hard to slot everything in these days. And those were the only 2 days, those 2 Fridays. There was just no other way. I didn't want to do it during the Labor Day weekend. That didn't make sense. Of course, everything will be recorded, and you all know where to find me if you have any questions. So if you can't make it, certainly we'll figure out a way to get you squared away regardless. Yeah, sounds good, John. Me too. I'm looking forward to it as well. I love doing the trade assist boot camps, the advanced boot camps. They're a lot of fun. There's so much you can do with it, and there's so much you shouldn't do with it. It's like one of those things where it's a really powerful tool that has to be used the proper way to get the most out of it, and then combine it. You have to combine it with what you do manually. You can't just use one to totally replace the other. You kind of need the best of what each tool does for you to piece it all together. You almost have to be Sherlock Holmes sometimes to figure out an evergreen trade plan that continues to perform. They're not easy to come by, but they sure are worth the effort when you finally find it. And then just to give you guys a heads up, also some trade room scheduling things coming up in the first 2 weeks of September. We will not have a Tuesday and Thursday session in September until Thursday the 16th. John is off being the backpack trader himself, off and traveling. And I'll be, we won't have a session on Monday or Wednesday the 15th. So the first session that week, the week of September, beginning Monday the 13th, we're only going to have one trade room that week, and that'll be Thursday the 16th when John returns. So I'll also be traveling that week and won't be available until Monday the 20th. So I'll continue to remind you, but the boot camp on Friday the 10th will be my last live session for about 10 days. So a few dark days coming up in September. You can see the short on unleaded gas just kind of working its way lower. I think on the 20th is going to be my return after the boot camp on the 10th. Monday the 20th, I believe. So far, that's looking good. I don't see any problems with that. I should have left the soybeans chart up. We were looking at soybeans, waiting for the next setup, and it came. Now, the automation, not the automation, the actual indicator itself is tracking the purple trade from way back here. And if you turn off the add-on trades, then that clearly would have been a great trade to be in. That one worked out amazing. But the way we do this plan, or the way it's been done, is taking the newest setup, and that was this one, and it missed its target by one tick and then came down and stopped out down in here. But then the second trade now hitting all three of its targets. That's soybeans. So it's interesting sometimes, what trade setups to use, and I just try to stay consistent, do it the same way every time. But here's a case where just going with the primary trade would have certainly been the best option, but we're all geniuses in hindsight, aren't we? If you turn off all the add-on trades and you have a nice clean chart, you could certainly test that and see how well it performs. It may even be better than using these additional setups. Sometimes less is more, usually less is more, as we've learned over the years. And of course, we'll be getting into soybeans a lot more with catapult grains coming up. And looking at some other markets that most people are not familiar with, or maybe have even thought of, markets like bean oil. Bean oil is very interesting. $6 a tick. Definitely a good one for catapult. And some others. Wheat futures. If you're looking for that little extra thing to add to your trading, to be a little bit better diversified, uncorrelated, and markets that could really give you explosive moves and quick, sometimes quick, not always, then grains could be it, because they move well. And I've added a few to the grains module. I've included some new markets as well that aren't even grains, but I just threw them in there just to make this a more interesting boot camp. Markets like cotton, coffee, cocoa. I don't know that all of those are going to be markets you want to trade, but they could really produce well sometimes. And it's at least something worth studying and learning about. You can see an additional trade here on soybeans getting short after that long trade, and that one hitting both targets 1 and 2 as well. So this uses a unique feature in Counterpunch Trader where you don't stop and reverse to the opposite position unless it agrees with the trend indicator line. In other words, if you're long and you get a short trade, you don't get into it until the line turns red. So if Unfortunately, you can't code for every single situation, but if you look at what we were talking about here, this is interesting because I just noticed on soybeans, got long, and then you have a stop and reverse, but it's filtered out because of the chop filter and because it's in hybrid mode, which means you can't stop and reverse to short if the line is blue. On the next bar, it turns red, and you would have seen the trade return. You would have seen a valid short trade here at the close of this bar, because all of a sudden now your line is red and you can stop and reverse. But the thing that prevented that from occurring, so you would have grabbed it when it pulled back to here, it hit the entry, could have placed the trade to go short, and you would have only lost a few ticks. Of course, you could adjust it lower because of the stop and reverse adjustment, and then it's borderline. The problem is, when I say borderline, is that the entry is still slightly, looks like it's going to be slightly above the 50 moving average, and because you're above the 50 average coming down and you're in the chop zone, it still gets filtered out. And that's a case where the filter really works against you if you're in that trade, because you know, if you're just following the dots, you're not going to stop and reverse, and then you take the full loss. So filters being a double-edged sword, but the chop filter works pretty well for the most part. But here's a case where it kind of bit our nose to spite our face type of thing, because otherwise it would have been a small loss and then a winner all the way down. Perfect target 3 right there. You can see it. But then the 2 winners come after anyway. That's the thing about counterpunch that throws people off, is depending on how you use it, you know, there's nuance. So the short on the pound Aussie, by the way, that I called a while ago, it ended up canceling, and then there's a new short. And the new short's triggering in. Well, the new short actually has to go down to 89 because I don't have key levels on this chart. We do it manually in our head, but it did just hit 89. So now this is the short trade. This one here. Short at 8889. And it's targeting 8873, 62, 52, 42. And the stop is at 8916. And really, you would put that in at 8918 because you need to account for the spread on the exit, on the buy side of your trade. You need to account for the spread on all these targets, because when you're short and you're going to exit, you're buying back your position. So you got to add that spread. So when the ask hits the spread, your order, the bid hits the target, because the ask is always above the target. So the chart shows you the bid, but the broker is going to fill you on the ask. So if the target's at 73, assuming there's a 2-pip spread, you have to put your exit in at 75. So then the bid will hit 73, you get filled it when the ask is at 75, that sort of thing. That's the weird thing about Forex. Catapult agricultures, yeah, well, kind of. I mean, I threw in live hogs and live cattle. They're not grains, but they eat grains. So there you go. I'm still calling it catapult grains. You just get some bonuses. Yeah, maybe. There are definitely commodities, but then there's a bunch that are not included. So however you want to refer to it, catapult, etc. I will be right back, you guys. All right, I'm back, guys. Sorry about that. So we're getting close to finishing this. We'll be back in shortly thereafter to do the crude oil report. But we do have a few minutes left, so this is a good time to ask any questions that are on your mind. I'll wait a few moments. Trading this morning mostly has been just really quick and efficient, hitting goals within a few minutes of starting. It's always nice when that happens. That's my preferred session, that's for sure. Get in, get out, get done. Has a nice ring to it. And I see a lot more people joining us since I started this morning. So let me just repeat a few announcements in case you missed it. Both boot camps are now coming up on Fridays, consecutive. The first 2 Fridays in September, actually. Friday the 3rd will be our Catapult Advanced boot camp, all about trade assist automation. And emails have started to go out regarding that. So if you're in already, great. John, thank you. Yes, please hit the like button. I keep forgetting. I guess I've become a YouTuber. Never thought that would happen, but it has. I don't know how much longer we will keep the trade room in here. It is possible we're going to move it to a different platform. For the foreseeable future, we're still here in YouTube. But we'll see how that goes. But anyway, then on September 10th is the Catapult Grains Boot Camp. So those 2 first Fridays in September boot camps. We will have some dark days in September as well. If you missed the announcement earlier, my colleague John will be traveling and will not be available the first 2 weeks in September. Tuesdays and Thursdays will be dark, no sessions until the 16th, Thursday the 16th, which coincidentally will be the only session that week because I will also be out and unavailable. The boot camp on Friday the 10th will be my last live event until Monday the 20th. So the whole week from the 13th on, only one session that week, Thursday the 16th. Monday the 13th, Tuesday the 14th, Wednesday the 15th. There will be no trade room sessions on those days. So there you go. Yeah, John, I agree. There's some benefits to YouTube, and maybe we won't just... I don't have any plans yet. So right now we're in YouTube, and there is benefit to it. There are things I like about it. There's some things I don't care too much about. But for the most part, it's been working well. There is a little bit of a delay that bothers me, especially like when we do the crude oil report coming up. I mean, I hate to put the trade out there, and then by the time you guys hear it, it's too late to grab it. I mean, that could be an issue, although usually it's not, but it could be. Craig asking, how long will the boot camp last on the 10th, the grains boot camp? Yeah, Craig, I never like to predict exactly, but I'm guessing it's going to go 4 to 5 hours. It's usually what happens. I like to save room at the end because I always have more material than what we end up getting to. And it just depends on, mission critical stuff. But the grains boot camp, it will probably not go that long because anyone in the grains boot camp just took the energies boot camp. And I'm not going to repeat a lot of what we learned in energies because you could just go watch those videos again. So grains will probably be shorter. Oh, I see. Yeah, if you're traveling, well, okay, so 11 a.m. Eastern is when it should start. And again, Craig, you know where to find me. So you'll get the recordings too. If you miss anything, I'm always here. You always know where to get your questions answered. So don't worry so much about it. I know it's good to be there live, but if you're traveling, you're traveling. I mean, same with the Advanced Catapult Advanced on the prior week on the 3rd. I mean, it's a Friday heading into Labor Day weekend. It's not the ideal day to do it, and I understand that. It was just the only day. Really looked at it hard. It looked at all possibilities, and so I know some people won't be able to make that either. But, the recordings are always there, and you know how to find me, and I always answer all questions, and I'm sure we'll get into the topics in more detail as time passes anyway. Yeah, my pleasure, Craig. And Craig, I think I may have sent you an email too. I don't know if it's going to the right email for you. Maybe double check, because I know that the email I think you sent in the other day, or you may have talked to one of my guys, I forget, but it didn't match the email I had for you with your member sites and stuff. So I don't know if you're checking your other email, but I'm not really sure the best email to reach out to you. Maybe you could send me an email and let me know. Let's just make sure we're all up to date and current. Yeah, it could be. I know everyone's got more than one email, but, artificial intelligence is actually pretty dumb, and it only knows what we tell them. And so what I have in the platform doesn't match up with what you're using, and then, makes it hard to track stuff and know what's going on. Just want to make sure I'm current with you. That's all. Anyway, guys, I think, I'm a few minutes in front of usually stopping these Wednesday sessions, so I'll give you another minute or two to collect your thoughts, ask any questions you have. But then I'll be right back in here shortly with a new session for our crude oil report. So I'll give you another minute or two, and then I'm going to close this down, get ready for our weekly report. Oil group. Yeah. All right then, guys. I'll see you shortly. Don't forget to hit the like button. It really helps. I really appreciate it. And I'll see you in the crude oil report session in a few minutes.